not omitting the river himself, for allowing the passage. The same day he led his whole force back to camp, safe and sound. At this point, Alexander was visited by envoys from Sirmus, the king of the Trebalians, and from the various other independent tribes along the Danube. The Celts from the Adriatic Sea also sent representatives, men of haughty demeanour and tall in proportion. All professed a desire for Alexander's friendship, and mutual pledges were given and received. Alexander asked the Celtic envoys what they were most afraid of in this world, hoping that the power of his own name had got as far as their country, or even further, and that they would answer, "You, my lord." However, he was disappointed, for the Celts, who lived a long way off in country not easy to penetrate, and could see that Alexander's expedition was directed elsewhere, replied that their worst fear was that the sky might fall on their heads. Nonetheless, he concluded an alliance of friendship with them, and sent them home, merely remarking under his breath that the Celts thought too much of themselves. He then made for the territory of the Agrianes and Paiones, where a message reached him that Clitus, the son of Bardilis, was in revolt, and had been joined by Glaucius, the prince of the Talantians, and further, that the Autoriates intended to attack him on the march. For these reasons, Alexander thought fit to get on the move without delay. Langarus, king of the Agrianes, who had made no secret of his respect for Alexander even in Philip's lifetime, had already been on an embassy to him in person, and on the present occasion attended him with his bodyguard, the finest and best-equipped troops he possessed. Hearing that Alexander wanted to know who the Autoriates were, and what their strength was, he advised them to think no more about them, as they were the least warlike tribe in that part of the country. He offered to keep them occupied by invading their territory himself, and, with Alexander's consent, actually did so, causing severe losses. For these services, Langarus received from Alexander every mark of honour, including such presents as are considered in the Macedonian court to be of the highest value. Alexander also promised that if Langarus visited him at Pella, he would give him his sister Kina in marriage. Langarus, however, after his return home, fell ill and died. Alexander now proceeded along the river Arrian on his way to Pelium, a town which had been occupied by Clitus as the most defensible in the district. Arriving there, he halted by the river Iordicus with the intention of making his assault the following day. The town was ringed with commanding heights, thickly wooded, which were held by Clitus's troops, who were thus enabled, in the event of an assault, to attack the Macedonian forces from every side. Glaucius, the king of the Taulantians, had not yet come upon the scene. Alexander, however, lost no time, and the enemy on his approach to the town, having sacrificed 3 boys, 3 girls, and 3 black rams, made a movement as if with the intention of engaging the Macedonians at close quarters. But no sooner had the latter come within striking distance than they abandoned their defensive positions, strong though they were. The bodies of the victims they had sacrificed were found still lying where they fell. Alexander now shut them up in the town, and taking up a position close to the walls, proposed to establish a blockade. But on the following day Glaucius appeared with a large force. As a result of this, Alexander abandoned his project of taking the town, for his own force was comparatively small. Many fine fighting men had withdrawn within the walls, and many more, under Glaucius's command, would be ready to attack him should he make an attempt upon the defences. Accordingly, he dispatched Philotas on a foraging expedition with the baggage animals and a small squadron of mounted troops to act as guard. The movement did not escape Glaucius. He went forward to the attack, and seized the high ground which ringed the stretch of country where Philotas and his men intended to collect their forage. The danger which threatened both the mounted troops and the pack animals should they be overtaken by darkness was reported to Alexander, who at once marched to their rescue with a force composed of the Arrianes, the archers, and the guards, and a squadron of cavalry, 400 strong. His remaining troops he left near the town, for had he withdrawn his entire force, the enemy who were shut up within it might well have broken out and joined Glaucius. Glaucius, however, abandoned his position on the high ground as soon as he saw Alexander coming, and Philotas's party returned to camp in safety. Nevertheless, it still seemed that the forces under Glaucius and Clytus had caught Alexander in an awkward position. They held the commanding heights strongly, both with mounted troops and with other detachments armed with javelins and slings, in addition to a considerable force of heavy infantry. Those at present confined within the town were all ready to attack the moment Alexander withdrew, and the country through which the withdrawal would have to be made was in the nature of a narrow wooded pass, with the river on one side and a lofty range with precipitous foothills on the other, so that it would hardly be practicable for his army to get through even 4 abreast. Such being the situation, Alexander drew up the main body of his infantry in mass formation, 120 deep, posting on either wing 200 cavalrymen, with instructions to make no noise, and to obey orders smartly. Then he gave the order for the heavy infantry first to erect their spears, and afterwards, at the word of command, to lower the mast points as for attack, swinging them again at the word of command, now to the right, now to the left. The whole phalanx he then moved smartly forward, and, wheeling it this way and that, caused it to execute various intricate movements. Having thus put his troops with great rapidity through a number of different formations,